Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fair Hiring Practices panel. We'll be starting this session shortly. Before we begin, I wanted to provide a bit of context about Return for Good, which you'll see behind me here. This is a new initiative that was launched by Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections. The goal of the Return for Good initiative is to educate Louisiana businesses on the benefits of hiring an untapped job candidate pool, formerly incarcerated individuals. The purpose of this initiative is to solve staffing issues for businesses while destigmatizing preconceived notions about formerly incarcerated individuals. To acknowledge April is Second Chance Month, the Return for Good initiative is launching several webinars. Information for these events will be in the chat momentarily. Additionally, Louisiana Department of Corrections has partnered with Atlo software to create a workforce portal. Think of the workforce portal as any other job searching site. You can post jobs, you can browse candidates, and you can even have virtual job interviews. Get access to quality applicants before your competitors do. A link for this sign up will also be in the chat box. I am now honored to introduce Dr. Gilmore. Dr. James Gilmore is a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He earned his bachelor's degrees in political science and master's in public administration from Southern University A&M College. He also earned his PhD in human resources from Louisiana State University. In addition to serving many civil roles, including serving Governor Kathleen Blanco's administration as a policy advisor on social services, housing, and community development in 2003, an appointment as a vice president of the Louisiana Housing Finance Agency in 2006, and an appointment by Governor John Bell Edwards as the director of the Children's Cabinet and various local boards and commissions for Baton Rouge. Dr. James Gilmore is a proud business owner and an entrepreneur. Since 2006, Dr. Gilmore has owned Bayard Management Group, LLC, a business consulting agency in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The firm specializes in workforce training and development, operations management, human resource management, crisis management, and program and performance management services. At Bayard Management Group, clients find the right solutions to their problems, and the firm assists them along the way. Bayard Management leverages industry knowledge to assist private, public, nonprofit, and government organizations with developing strategies and plans to accomplish organizational goals, evaluating performance, and keeping a competitive edge. For more context on Dr. Gilmore's incredible list of achievements, please refer to your registration ticket. I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Gilmore, for hosting this session. You are a business owner, and so you have a special level of credibility to talk about these topics in addition to your long list of experience. So thank you so much for hosting today, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say as well as what the panelists have to say.
Thank you so much, Kelsey, and welcome everyone. This is a great opportunity for us to have dialogue about second chance hiring and fair hiring practices with businesses and companies. Thank you to the Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections for celebrating and acknowledging Second Chance Month. And I know this is one of many webinars and events that you'll be hosting this month to highlight the value of hiring formerly incarcerated persons. And also, I'm even more excited to hear about the workforce development portal that you mentioned that will allow incarcerated individuals to begin their job search and interview process prior to being released. I have the privilege of facilitating this dialogue, but I want to also begin by sharing a brief presentation about the business case for hiring formerly incarcerated individuals and giving a second chance. Return for Good. Here's some things that I'd like to share with you all. First of all, in the United States of America, 1 in 3 adults have some type of record, be it arrest or conviction. That's 70 million United States citizens. Talented and otherwise qualified people oftentimes sit at home or are settling for government assistance because they can't find employment. In 2014, the United States economy lost billions, 78 to 87 billion in GDP because people with records, convictions, or arrests couldn't find work. Workers with records have been found to be the most productive, have less turnover, and they even get promoted faster. So here's the business case for giving a second chance to formerly incarcerated individuals. It makes business sense to absolutely give these second chances. A staggering 27% of formerly incarcerated people don't have jobs. This is far above our worst unemployment rate during the Great Depression. Currently, our unemployment rate nationally is 6%, but we have a staggering 27% of formerly incarcerated people who don't have jobs. So tell me, why does nearly 60 to 75% of formerly incarcerated individuals remain unemployed a year after release? 60 to 75% of formerly incarcerated individuals remain unemployed a year after release. We have great opportunity here. We have lots of opportunity here to transition individuals who are formerly incarcerated into employment, into our workforce, being productive citizens that oftentimes leads to prosperity for businesses as well as reduction in crime. So why is this happening? Is it because checking the box on employment applications has been proven to prevent otherwise qualified individuals from becoming gainfully employed? Is it because our businesses have a business culture where we don't embrace or accept or welcome individuals who are formerly incarcerated? Or is this just a stigma that we have in society where someone has served time, we just kind of don't want them in the workplace? So we're here today to talk with some corporations, some companies, some local businesses that have given second chances. And they're going to tell their stories and tell their best practices and promising practices that hopefully will encourage other employers to embrace second chance hiring by implementing fair hiring practices. We also will hear from a formerly incarcerated individual and their success of 5 years employment at ExxonMobil since being released. What I'd like to do now is introduce our panelists who will be helping me in having this conversation about fair chance and second chance hiring. We have today Ms. Rosanna Thompson, who is the Vice President of Human Resources of Golden Nugget Casino in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We have Ms. Tasha Clark Amar, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization right here in East Baton Rouge Parish. We have Mr. Brian Bernard. Mr. Bernard is the Human Resources Director for the City of Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, that will talk about the ban the box policy that he has been implementing for a number of years here in City Parish hiring. We also have Mr. Jared Woodard, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a 5-year veteran of ExxonMobil, as well as a formerly incarcerated individual that will share his successes and his challenges in getting gainful employment. We're also going to welcome Chef Celeste, I'm not sure if she's able to join us, who is also a nationally renowned and recognized chef, TV personality, and caterer. Thank you all panelists for joining me and joining us in this discussion.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
So my first question for those of you all that have been hiring and have implemented second chance hiring in your organization, how has providing second chance employment opportunities to formerly incarcerated persons benefited your company? Anyone?
I could speak to that.
Okay.
So we're having a tough time recruiting right now. There's not a lot of people in the Lake Charles area that are looking for work. In addition to the COVID situation, we've had 2 hurricanes. So we've been working with the Louisiana Workforce Commission to take people that are currently incarcerated and in a program that allows them to come to work here at the casino. We probably have about 32 people right now in that program, but we've been working with the program for probably 3 years now. And we've had multiple people that came out of the program, stay employed with us. And as you said in your presentation, we've had many of these individuals that we've been able to promote 2-3 times in the short time that they've been here. So it's really helped to develop our workforce, to get us the people we need, and again, great workers.
Excellent, excellent. Golden Nugget Casino. Thank you so much for that. Any other panelists? What have been some of the successes of hiring and giving a second chance to formerly incarcerated individuals? Ms. Amar?
I knew you were going to call me. We have had a great opportunity to put some great folks back to work. In the work that we do in serving seniors, not only do they get an opportunity to have employment, but they get an opportunity to become a part of a family that cares for others. They get a kindred feeling, when you're caring for seniors, and you get a greater level of appreciation when you're doing service that you just so happen to be paid for. So we have had great success with second chance employment. I want to say in the last 4 to 5 years, we have 14 or 15 employees, particularly in our culinary and our nutrition department. They make the meals, they are on both shifts, and they put heart and love into the program. They come up with great ideas. Several have been promoted. One is actually promoted to the manager and supervisor of the department, and they operate $3.5 million worth of budget annually, and they make a great production. And so they are some of my best employees, and we make sure that we treat them like everybody else, fairly. We give them a chance, and we make sure that we educate them. We give them an opportunity at management. We give them an opportunity to rise. And we always work with the motto, you have to aim high to rise. And so if you want to change where you've been, then you have to change your mindset first.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other panelists can talk about successes they've had in hiring formerly incarcerated individuals? If not, definitely I'd like to talk about any pushback. We're having this topic because there are lots of companies out there that maybe haven't implemented second chance hiring policies and programs, or haven't created a culture where individuals who are hired or given a second chance stay and grow. And Ms. Amar, I know, and I've heard that, some of your, many of your second chance employees, they've lasted. They're not individuals that come and maybe last a week or two, but right. There are individuals that have stayed. Have you, or has anyone ever had any pushback from staff, maybe from your clients, let's say senior citizens, Ms. Roseanne, maybe from some of your clients in the casino, or has anyone ever had any pushback in their organization with hiring second chance employees, and how did you overcome that?
So we had some pushback in the beginning, just because we're a casino, and there's cash, there's alcohol, there's gambling around, and so we basically, to overcome that, worked with both the state as well as our local management team to say, okay, we do want to minimize the risk of exposing somebody to something that might be a temptation. So we defined what positions and what departments that everyone would be comfortable with formerly incarcerated people working in. And so, as was mentioned, we have a lot in the culinary program. We also provided education and training so that they could get their culinary degrees to give them that opportunity for growth. You know, our laundry workers, our golf course, a number of different positions. But then after the people got out of the program, then they're able to move to other departments because now they've proven themselves. And so one great example is we had a young lady that came in through the program in our laundry. And after working, she's now in HR and she's been promoted twice in HR working. Wow. So like I said, we overcame the resistance by developing specific paths to bring them in on. And then once they're in and they establish themselves, then the door's wide open.
Well, and the same for us. We only have one barrier, which is you have to because you're working with the elderly, you cannot be on the National Sex Offender Registry. And so we discovered that was an issue, but we also, like Ms. Roseanne said, we created another position or space for even those offenders or reentry folk, that they can go into the culinary department or into the nutrition department, so that they don't have, hands-on access to seniors or to, certain things like that. So I think that where there's a will, there's a way. You can provide an opportunity for somebody to have an opportunity at a second chance. I think it's a part of the community that we need to bring folks back in and give them an opportunity to, to set the path right, to get a second chance.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that your organizations both had resistance, but you worked to find solutions in order to give this opportunity. Mr. Bernard of the City of Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish HR Department. I know in the City of Baton Rouge a few years ago, there was a lot of controversy and lots of discussion, but the ban the box did get passed here in local government. Could you tell us about that ban the box policy, and how has it been effective at giving second chances and giving a fair chance for individuals who are formally incarcerated?
Thanks, and good morning, everyone. In 2015, the Metro Council actually passed the ban the box policy, which took the question of criminal backgrounds off of all of our applications. And in doing that, it allows for any formerly incarcerated persons to go through the entire recruitment process and not have their background checked until they are the chosen candidate pending the background check and the physical examination. So we pushed that from the front, which had some stigma that if some hiring authorities saw that you had any kind of criminal activity or even arrests or convictions on your application, that some push those applications to the side without giving those candidates any kind of consideration. So we've removed that from the application totally. Only after you have gone through the entire recruitment process and the appointing authority has said that you are the candidate we want to hire, or you sent for a background check. Once that background check comes back, if there's anything of concern or any items on that background check, we send that to our parish attorney, and the parish attorney and the appointing authority who's doing the hiring makes the decision if there's no ease of association between the crime that was committed and the place of employment that the employee or the candidate is going to be working. And then they can go ahead and hire, knowing that there may be something, and we keep that information confidential between the parish attorney's office and the appointing authority for strict confidentiality purposes. We have over 4,500 jobs in the city across some 400 classifications. And so mainly we hire in those entry-level custodial, maintenance, and food type areas. And so, we welcome those formerly incarcerated employees to apply with us. Matter of fact, right now, if I could put a plug in for the City of Baton Rouge, we have our lowest level maintenance, which is a laborer, open right now for employment. And all that's required is for you to turn in an application, period. And your name gets sent to the hiring authority. And so if anybody's out there looking or have any candidates they can send our way, please do so. That's open until Friday of this week. And we are an employer of second chance, and have many stories that we could tell about the good things that have happened and the promotions that have happened from persons who have been formerly incarcerated.
I think the Band the Box in East Baton Rouge Parish is a great example. And if there are any other city government or government officials or agencies on the call on this Zoom, I really hope that your town or your city considers Band the Box. What I love to hear most about the way you all are implementing the Band the Box is that you absolutely don't do a background check until the candidate has been interviewed, and probably oftentimes interviewed multiple times, have passed all of whatever required pre-employment screenings and testing based on skill and aptitude, not necessarily background. And then you do the background check. And even from there, sounds as if you said that even if there may be a blemish on the record, even if there is a finding on the record, after that applicant has gone through the interviews and done well, the application and done well, you don't allow that blemish to simply mean that they won't get hired. Sounds like you all even take it as far to have meetings with the parish attorney as well as the department to assess whether whatever blemish on their record, whatever the criminal history is on their record, whether it directly aligns or doesn't with the job you're hiring them for. That is to be commended, to go those extra efforts to give a return for good, a fair chance. And as you stated before, some of the pushback that you received, I'm sure that it was something that was a challenge, but it's good to be able to tell the story of the successes. I see there are some questions in the chat box. I don't want to go too far into any more questions until I acknowledge those. Kelsey or Robert, are there any questions maybe that you'd like to share, or are there any comments that we want to mention from the chat box?
Yes, it looks like we have one question. Is Band the Box something that's done statewide, or is this in just Baton Rouge Parish? And I think this is directed at Brian.
I know that Band the Box for the city is a local initiative, but know that one of the council members that was very instrumental in pushing this forward has now graduated from the Metro Council and is now a state legislator. So I'm sure there are conversations with that legislator now to try to make it statewide. But for right now, I know that the city of Baton Rouge is a local initiative, Band the Box.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
A couple years ago, the EEOC issued some guidance on hiring people with criminal backgrounds to ensure fair hiring practices. And we, as Landry's Corporation, we also banned the box and moved it to the back end, just like they have done in Baton Rouge, maybe about a year and a half ago, maybe two. And so we also don't, throughout Landry's nationwide, do not ask that question until you're the candidate that's being offered the job.
We have a couple more questions. The next question a lot of these are related to Band the Box actually. Next question is, can the employer ask outright about past incarceration if Band the Box is not on the application?
In the city of Baton Rouge, they cannot.
So we don't encourage it at our locations either. Again, once the candidate's identified that you're the one that we want to offer the job to, then it's part of our background check process.
Same thing with us. We don't ask that initially. It comes into the interview process or once we get ready to offer you the position.
And in most businesses, to answer that question, and all of you all are absolutely correct, and to answer that question, to piggyback off of what everyone else is saying to the person who asked that question, it is most safe not to ever ask questions about criminal background during an interview. For those applications that have that question, You can find out the answer there. For those of you all who implement Ban the Box, where that question isn't asked on the application, most of the time, if not all of the time, those companies have a background check system that they don't have to ask, they can find for themselves.
Right.
They can find out for themselves. And so, but from an HR perspective, I would encourage folks never to ask those questions. Now, you can ask things like, can you perform the job? Of course, can you meet the work hours? But to stay away from things that relate to incarceration and wait for that to be found in your background check. Now, also for smaller companies that I may consult for, they may not have the resources to do background checks. And so asking that question after or when you make the offer is maybe best if you don't have the funds or don't know how to do background checks. But nowadays it's pretty affordable to do a background check after the interview process and you're ready to make a job offer. Any other related questions, Kelsey, before we move? Okay.
Another question about Ban the Box is what other initiatives are happening currently to expand Ban the Box legislation?
Well, as Mr. Bernard mentioned with the city of Baton Rouge, I know for a fact that the state representative from Baton Rouge has continuously worked to attempt to ban the box on a state level. Now, just to be clear, the only power there would be to ban the box on civil service or state job applications. Private sector employers have the right to determine their hiring practices. Of course, they have to follow federal guidelines. And so, you know, unless Congress bans the box, we're here today encouraging private sector employers, nonprofit organizations, small businesses to ban the box or to create policies that provide fair hiring practices. And ban the box is just one of many ways that you can do that as a private business, small business, or nonprofit organization.
Dr. Gilmore, I want to say a couple of sessions ago, that legislator, along with, I want to say was at the time, Representative Pat Smith, they did pass a successful ban the box on some state agencies, for state agencies, and maybe some civils. Right. It didn't go any further, but I think the state is also mimicking the policy that the city has. They're very similar in nature.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Ms. Amore.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Gerard Woodard.
Yes, sir.
It's a privilege to have you on today. Mr. Gerard is a 5-year employee of ExxonMobil. We're glad you've joined us today. I'd like for you to share with us, upon your release, what were some of the challenges you had or may have had in finding employment? And if you didn't have any challenges, I know for a fact that you know of other stories of those who are formerly incarcerated, who have challenges finding employment upon release. Tell me about those challenges.
Well, the biggest challenge is after being incarcerated for a number of years. When I first got incarcerated, there wasn't any applications online. They were paper applications. So the challenge came when I came home and going to these employments and they telling me that I have to do it online, something I wasn't familiar with. But because I had support from my wife, who's highly educated, she set me down and kind of showed me some of the things that go. I know the basics of a computer, you know, but she helped me with it, and through that, I gained employment. Second of all, is just trying to find employment that's within your skill set. You know, so that was basically my challenge going through it, trying to find employment.
And how did you land the job, or did you interview for the job at Exxon? How did you hear about the job at Exxon?
I heard about the job from my auntie who does security with some of the plants. So she told me to go to this website. Was once Jacob, is now Worley. And I went to the site. Exxon hired through contractors, which is who I worked for. I worked for Worley, which is I worked in Exxon.
Mhm.
And when I heard about it and I filled it out, they immediately called me in like maybe 3 hours.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Did you
because
get asked any questions about your criminal background?
not at all,
Not at all.
not at all.
And did it ever come up even after your job offer and starting your employment?
No, sir.
Not at all.
Still to this day, it has not.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. You're here also representing others. I know when we talked a couple of days ago, you talked about the challenges that others are facing that may not be as lucky as you at applying for a job, never being questioned about their criminal background, being hired, never being questioned about their criminal background. But there are those others are not as lucky as you. Do you want to share some of the stories that you hear about or that you know about of the challenges that formerly incarcerated people are having? I know you mentioned applying online. What else might you have heard or you're hearing that you'd like to share?
Most guys coming from incarceration feel that they have a strike against them to begin with, and when they go to fill out applications or they go and they be denied, they normally just kind of shut themselves down. But I encourage guys with will and determination, you can get and become anything you wish.
Mhm.
And I would like to share with them that the ones that I know who are incarcerated, I always share with them to share with other guys who are incarcerated to contact me, because I try to stay in the loop with those who have been incarcerated, because I know the struggle you're going through. I mean, I just thank God of the success I've had, and I try to share that success with other guys, to give them something to look forward to. Because if we don't push them and motivate them, they become another statistics and, subject to return.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story, and I'll definitely get back to you to have some further discussions.
Yes.
Ms. Amar,
Yes, sir.
what I think is unique about what your organization done, because I've studied or worked with your organization, many of your organizations before, is that you've created sort of a nucleus here in Baton Rouge of organizations that support formerly incarcerated individuals. Could you tell us about your cleaning service contractor and
Right.
other contractors that you've worked with, even Chef Celeste? Not sure if she's on the call or not, but even some of the vendors and folks you contract with. Is not just that your organization embraces second chance hiring, but you've also kind of sort of encouraged, or you work with other like-minded companies.
Right. Well, Chef Celeste has our nutrition services contract, and she designs our meals and recipes that we make for all of our meals in the senior centers and for Meals on Wheels. And she in turn hires friends or family members or folks that we know folks that have folks that's trying to re-enter into the system. She hires them for her teams, as well as oversees them in our nutritional department. And then our Bell's Janitorial Services is a formerly incarcerated run company. We hire them. They clean our 24 locations or 23 locations all over the parish. They only hire formerly incarcerated folk. And so we keep the chain growing as we hire contractors and we hire employees. They in turn, we tell them, now we're giving you an opportunity. We want you to turn around and give someone else an opportunity, and be a hand up to the next person, so that we can continue, to set the path straight for some folks who happen to really be some of our best employees and our brightest stars, and they rise really quickly. I have one employee that I always talk about, has been with me throughout my tenure. And he rides a bike to work every day for 5 a.m. And he is there so early, he opens the building for everybody else. So it's that kind of dedication and heart and passion and capacity for what we do.
Great, great. So I love that model, that it's not just you, but it's also
Right.
those that you contract with and that you work
Right.
with understand and appreciate
Right.
that this is a culture.
That's
Because
right.
what we talked about ban the box as one solution. Research also shows that it's the culture that a company has
Mhm.
that not only tells whether that company is going to create policies and programs to embrace those that are formerly incarcerated, but you want to
Right.
keep them there.
That's
And the way
right.
you keep them there is, as Mr. Woodard has seemingly experienced, confidentiality.
Mhm.
It's not everyone's business in the organization
That's
who has a
right.
criminal background record, but also a culture where everyone understands that it's the norm and
That's
that we
right.
hire qualified people regardless of their backgrounds.
And that we know that oftentimes that people make mistakes, and most of us have made mistakes and we just didn't get caught doing it. You know, there has been times in life, I'm sure, that we've done something, had one too many at the party, and went
Mhm.
home, and just by the grace of God, we didn't get that DWI or whatever the issue may be. So
Mhm.
we need to give people that same kind of grace. You know, we have to operate under grace and mercy sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. As I mentioned in the opening remarks, 1 in 3 Americans have something on their record.
Right.
Okay, you know, whether it's a ticket, whether it's arrest, whether it's conviction, we all have done something.
Something.
70 million people have, and so we can't
That's
just
right.
throw all of these people away because it doesn't benefit our economy or society.
That's right. And locking them up I don't see much change. That doesn't help. So we have to all collectively help our brothers.
Ms. Thompson and Mr. Bernard, this question can be for both of you all. I'm sure you all, as well as Ms. Amar, I'm sure you all have had to terminate someone that might have had a criminal background record that you've given a second chance to. You probably had to remove them of their duties. Did it ever discourage you, or did it ever lead to others discouraging you from continuing your fair hiring practices to whenever you've had to terminate someone that has a criminal background record? Has it ever been used against you, for lack of a better term, or as regret?
It has not affected me or changed my opinion. Normally, when we have had to part ways with somebody, it's not related to their prior conviction.
Wow.
It's related to a policy or procedure or rule violation that they did now. And so I wouldn't let my experience with one person change how I felt about anybody else that happened to have that same background. So, you know, it's the same thing. We also hire a large number of people that have disabilities. And if we had a bad experience with one person, we wouldn't let that affect our hiring practices for other people with disabilities.
And I also appreciate what you said, is that, you know, those times when you did have to terminate someone who might have been formerly incarcerated, absolutely doesn't mean it was something that was directly correlated or to their offense, to their criminal conviction. It might have been some other form of policy. Mr. Bernard or Ms. Clark, any pushback or regrets whenever you've had to terminate a formerly incarcerated person, with folks saying, see, that's why we shouldn't have that policy or that culture in this organization?
I personally haven't experienced that, Dr. Gilmore. I think it's more for me, it's more on the other spectrum. For those persons that I personally know who had something in their background and they've gotten employed with us, they have become some of our most productive and reliable persons. I don't know if it's because they feel that we were the employer that gave them a chance, and that they're real committed. Like Ms. Amar said, they're some of the first people at work and they're some of the last ones to leave. So more of our story has been, once we give someone who's formerly incarcerated a chance, they're some of our most committed and valuable employees. And, you know, with that commitment, we try to get them additional training, get them additional promotions. They just become some of our hardest working and best employees.
Right. And we're of the notion that we don't terminate you, you terminate yourself. right? The reason you're no longer with us is because of the decision that you made. And so it had nothing to do with your prior history, but all with your current decision making. And so you made a wrong choice and a wrong decision. And sometimes with wrong decisions come consequences. And so we've only had that in 10 years to happen with one person. And so we have a very, very good track record. We do not have high turnover relative to our formerly incarcerated persons, because they know that before they make those decisions, they normally ask, is this a good idea? Because we've created that space for them in that dialogue. They can ask their supervisors all the way up to me. And we not only help them with job, we help them with life, right? How you get back out here and get reacclimated to this new thing called life, because it's different than before. And so we make sure that we help them in all facets of being successful.
Okay, Kelsey, thank you, Ms. Amar. Kelsey, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have lots of great questions.
Okay.
Start with this one. For each panelist, what are the necessary skills that would be beneficial to currently incarcerated individuals to be competitive in your industries?
For us, you just have to have a will to want to work and some dedication. Come in, you can put in an application. We're currently hiring. We're always hiring. You have to have a will and some flexibility to want to work. We work a lot of hours. We do a lot of different programs, and we just want a candidate that's willing to work. Be on time, stay on time, don't be late, and have a positive attitude. We'll teach you the rest.
I agree with what Ms. Tasha said 100%. We can train you on anything here.
That's right.
If you have the will to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And same here. Personally, I've toured some of the facilities, Angola, and some of the other places that have some great skilled trades programs, and we try to recruit from those areas. Automotive skills, trades, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, those AC, those kind of trades that's coming out of those institutions. But again, the willingness to work and just the attitude of, we'll get you trained if we can get you here.
Right.
Very good.
We have a couple other questions. Do you have any advice for formerly incarcerated individuals as they return to the workforce?
I didn't hear the complete question. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. I said, do you have any advice for formerly incarcerated individuals as they return to the workforce?
I'd like to, if possible, ask Jared. Jared, are you still with us? I'd like to ask Jared to answer that question. Jared, what would you tell someone who's coming out of prison to do to be a success?
Just like the lady said just a minute ago, you have to be determined. You must be willing. But I continue to tell people to, be who you are, man. Just feel comfortable in what you do. Because with that, just like she said, I started with Exxon 5 years ago as just a forklift operator. Today, I'm a mechanic operator, as well as they sent me to school for safety. Mm-hmm. So again, I do safety when they have turnarounds. I do safety at the refinery plant on Scenic Highway. And outside of that, I work at the Port Allen plant as an operator. But continue to just look forward and be good at what you do. I mean, just like she said, man, most of us who come out of prison and get us a job, we are so determined to do well, so we're there early. We work hard throughout that, and all that came through our incarceration because we learned patience. You had to work, but you got up at a certain time, and with all that, use that incarceration to today. You use that as your crutch. You use that as your foundation, and that's how I do it every day. I'm never late. I'm always on time, and I'm a very, very dedicated worker.
Okay. Any other
Dr.
questions, Kelsey?
I would say, Dr. Gilmore,
Mhm.
persistence is the key. You know, for five no's, there eventually will be a yes, but you have to be persistent, patient, and understanding and keep trying. And once you get an opportunity, you have to seize that opportunity.
And I want to emphasize that 5 no's, because from an HR perspective, and another reason why we are here today is because we want to encourage more companies and employers, no matter how big or small you are, to give second chances. But also, you know, realize those that are, we want to remind those that are formerly incarcerated that just because you get a denial for one job doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to apply and to interview for others.
Mhm.
Kelsey, any other questions?
I have another question for Jared, if he's still on. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I see myself in 5 years owning my own business, man. And through the grace of God, it's
All
gonna
right.
happen.
Very good. It is coming.
It's coming.
Awesome. We have another question for Brian. What should a person do if they are asked about their criminal background at an interview?
They should not discuss that matter. That hiring authority should know better than in an interview to be asking that. And then, you know, that'll be found at the end. That should not be discussed during the hiring application process.
Right.
And I want to add on to that, again, being an HR consultant for the past 20 years, I've experienced a lot. There are some employers that may not know not to ask that question. I've had them as clients. And so once I've trained them and helped them understand it, they get a better understanding. But also I put myself in the shoes of the applicant. If you're on this call and you get asked that question, you can respectfully, in a very polite and honest way, you know, say that, Mrs. or Mr. whomever, I may have made mistakes in my life. However, the skill sets that I have, and maybe mention your skill sets, I believe qualify me for this position. Once we've completed this interview and discussion about my skill sets, I welcome you to do a background check,
Right.
and we can have, and hopefully you'll give me a chance to, a second chance, and we can discuss anything that you may find at that time. And there's a very professional and polite way that you can say that, encouraging them to look at your skill sets, asking them and encouraging them to do a background check, and welcoming any discussion. Because as Brian and Tasha and Ms. Thompson have said, you know, once they do the background check, if they're a second chance employer, or if they want to give you a second chance because your qualifications are extremely what they need, they'll give you a call and they'll say, okay, we see that in 1972, you did this. And then you can explain, yeah, that was about 30 years ago. I was young, I made a mistake, but since then I've went back to trade school, I've gotten a degree. And so always welcome the opportunity to explain whatever is found on your background check. And as many of you all may also know, just because it's on your background check doesn't mean you even did it. There are things that are mistakes. My dad and I have the same last name, same name. So oftentimes there may be mistakes on your background check. And so absolutely encourage a discussion with your with the employer if that question arises.
And Dr. Gilmore, to expound on that, honesty is always the best policy. And, you know, be honest, be as honest as possible, and forthcoming, so that the employer doesn't feel like you being shady and that they have to go do some extra digging. Just, you know, be honest. And some, you know, mistakes happen. And if it was a mistake, it was a mistake, because you already paid your dues for it, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And Mr. Woodard, speaking of paying the dues for it, something you said a couple of days ago when we talked, I thought was very possible. Explain more when you said about you've already served your time and your message to formerly incarcerated individuals about already serving that time.
Well, for the guys who've already served that time, man, just continue to look forward. Don't look to your past as something that's going to hold you back. You have to believe in yourself to begin with. And when you believe in yourself, others gonna believe in you.
But
And
didn't you talk about the convictions? Remember you mentioned something about conviction, the time of conviction. You've served
okay,
your,
you're talking about the 7 years.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Share
Okay.
that with us.
When you're employed, they ask you a question, have you been convicted in the last year, maybe 2 years? But here's what I'm here to say.
You muted yourself, Mr. Woodard.
You just don't show it. That's
Repeat
just
yourself,
like,
Mr. Woodard. You muted yourself. Repeat yourself.
hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm back in now.
Yes, sir.
After 7 years, everything is wiped off your jacket except child support. So when you come out and the employee asks you, have you been convicted in the last 7 years? Most guys put in the last year, they put yes because they just got out of prison. But the answer to that is no, because your conviction was 20 years ago. Your conviction wasn't the day you was released. So
Absolutely.
therefore, when you do your applications, that question of have you been convicted in the last year, just because you just got out, the answer is no.
Correct. And again, if it comes upon your background check, then you have a chance to explain it. Any
Well,
other questions?
They don't go back but 7 years unless it's federal, unless you're getting a federal job or a state job. They can go past 7 years. You know, but in most cases, you can't go past 7 years and someone's background check.
Right. Okay, any other questions, Kelsey, before we close out and you share some exciting news that's more to come with the Louisiana Department of Corrections?
Absolutely. We have one more question for Jared. Have you ever felt discriminated because of your background?
No, ma'am. I've never been felt discriminated because I go to work. I have just the same skill sets as someone who possibly been there 20 years. So I haven't been discriminated against in any job. I've been helped more than I've been discriminated against.
Very good. Okay, well, I want to thank you all panelists for joining. This has been a very fruitful discussion from both the employer as well as the applicant or formerly incarcerated or a person. Kelsey, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about other things happening for Second Chance Month and things happening at the Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Gilmore, for being the host. And I want to also say thank you to all the panelists once again for joining us in this fruitful discussion. It is incredibly inspiring to hear about all these second chances and the change that's occurring around second chances. So I appreciate all the hard work on this. A couple things I want to bring up about upcoming Second Chance Month events is that we are having an event on April 21st. That'll be our next Second Chance Month event. It'll be at 10 a.m. and this will be a policy-oriented session. So this is about reentry policy barriers to education and employment. Information to register for that event will be in the chat box, and it is already. The next event is going to be an event hosted by Urban League. This will occur on April 28th. This will be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this will actually be employers to hire people that are formerly incarcerated, and currently incarcerated individuals will actually also be present in those sessions. This is the first time the Department of Corrections is doing anything like this. This is amazing. The next thing is on April 30th at 10:30 a.m. We'll be having a session called Return for Good, a panel with experience. And this will be several panelists who are formerly incarcerated and are also giving back to the community now by working through a nonprofit, by creating their own nonprofit and providing different resources to the community. So that's all I have. I want to thank you all once again for being a part of this panel. And I want to thank all of the members of the audience for learning about second chances with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.